Okay, good day, grade 11s. I hope you're all well. Hope you all had a good break. So I'm just going to go over the soil conservation. Now, I'll probably break this into two videos so that it becomes easier to upload because I've had a few problems with uploading. But in a second, I'm just going to ask you to put this down as your unit topic, put that at the top of your page. Now, you can write this on folder sheet or you could do that on a Word document, your choice, okay? But I'm first just going to go over the homework the other time. So first, the desertification one. We've got those two main causes of desertification of climate change, population growth. And so let's just go for climate change first. So when there's climate change, yes, so there's less rainfall and more drought. Okay, so less rainfall, more drought. And what's going to happen there? Vegetation's going to die. When vegetation dies, the vegetation holds the soil together, the soil becomes exposed and to wind and rain. And so more soil erosion, desertification. And this is the same with population growth here. So more animals eat everything. So overgrazing, vegetation cannot regrow, okay? More land needed for crops, more energy for cooking. So deforestation to create that energy, more land needed, so overcultivation, so farming too much, and that ends up with the vegetation removed, and again, soil exposed, soil erosion, desertification at the end there, okay? If you have any questions about that, come and see me. Come and see me, you could struggle with that, just send me an email. Okay, now, just as I'll let you just give you a second, you can pause the video, go through that, try and spot the 17 mistakes. Now, obviously, because of the way it is in a minute, they're on here on the next page. So, yes, you can cheat and go across there if you wish, your choice. So, 11% of the Earth's land is actually suitable for prime agriculture, so we could actually grow stuff on it, okay? But then we have a lot of damage from deforestation and creates these problems, overcultivation. So what we actually do today, because we're doing about conservation, we're going to first look at erosion into a bit more detail, and it all kind of links a bit to this desertification there. And we're going to look at these three types, well, two different types of erosion. First, soil erosion, you should know this, is like that breaking down of the soil. And there are two real main causes, water and wind. And the three that are on those pictures there are from water. Now, if you look on page 252, you will have, in your Bunnet book, they have the description of these three types and talks about the wind. So I'm going to go over it briefly, but you need to read through that and highlight the main points on page 252 of your Bunnet book, okay? So mostly, like soil erosion can be natural, but most of it is actually coming from it's going to be from deforestation, mining, and bad farming practices. And we're going to look at maybe how we could do better farming practices to actually keep the soil from becoming eroded. If there's vegetation generally, that's going to bind the soil together and there's going to be little erosion. So what causes there to be less vegetation? Well, first, we're going to look at this wind erosion caused by water, okay, caused by rain. And we've got this sheet erosion here, okay? And this is where large areas of water has the same amount of soil is taken away, so these kind of larger waves just sweeps away like a sheet of paper being blown away, but the water is just going to blow this sheet of soil away. And it usually happens, it's going to be the same amount of soil that's blown away, and the water is, as you can see, this is kind of a gentle slope, and as the water goes down, it just takes the soil with it, okay? There are larger areas. The second one we're going to look at is this gully erosion. Now, you're going to know what gullies are from the desertification we did, but this is more localized. As you can see, it's just a smaller area. Like this is over a whole field, this is over a smaller area. And so this is over a smaller area. The rainfall rushes down, cuts these deep grooves into the lands and forms gullies, okay? And the last type here is like this rill erosion, which is even smaller. It's kind of like gullies, but much smaller. Little streamlets, little cuts through the ground, okay, as the water flows down, cutting away that soil and breaking down the soil, okay? For the wind erosion, well, if there's no rain, there's going to be no vegetation. And when there's no vegetation, that soil, and you feel it's a bit like the school field, like when it's not been rain, it just becomes that dust bowl, okay? And that soil becomes dust, and it can blow away as the wind goes away. And grasslands, they typically have grass, obviously, but then if people start growing crops or start overgrazing, as I went over for that homework, the wind erosion is so liable to happen there. It's going to blow away all of that soil as dust, okay? Now, as we talked about this farming, now, if you use artificial fertilizers, so like man-made fertilizers, it doesn't contain humus, okay? And that humus is needed to maintain the structure of the soil, okay? So if you keep using those man-made artificial fertilizers, there's going to be more and more erosion, okay? All of this information is on page 252, okay? And all of it leads to, and so I'll let you read through that and make some notes on it. It can lead to these sort of dust storms here. Now, I've left a link in there so you can watch a short video of it. And you can see these great large dusts that can kind of bring airports to a standstill, bring like in Japan when they had it, that schools would close when there was dust bowls, football, sports matches would be called off, and so bring the place to a bit of a standstill, okay? And it's kind of just an effect of these sort of bad farming practices that can happen. You can see as a kind of a clearer diagram, it's just that maybe some people would find it easier. If you look on page 254 in your New Wider World, you have this diagram. Now, I've put that diagram into your PowerPoint that I gave you, okay? And it goes through some of these kind of causes of soil erosion, okay? And it goes through, so for example, the removal of vegetation, over cultivation, etc. So you can go through on that, highlight those main points. Now, we're going to look at a case study, and you might have heard of this in history, and it's this idea of the Dust Bowl case study in America. Now, in the United States. Now, if you go to the link, now you might have to copy that link, put it into Google, and then be able to get to the link so it actually works, because if I copied it straight in, it didn't quite work. And this talks about this area of the Dust Bowl. Now, it's a bit annoying that that map's not working. I'm not sure where that's going to go, so I'll... and generally, so as people started to, settle down in the United States, some people would go to these areas, and now they would see that this kind of area, known as the Great Plains, was not really. It didn't have gold. It didn't have. It wasn't really a good place to farm. So people just kept going further west, okay, and just left that area. However, in the 1880s, people started to arrive, okay, and there'd been a time period of exceptional rain, and so people were able to farm there. So then people started using this area, started to settle there. However, a certain time later, the droughts returned, okay? And short drought, and then in the 1890s it came again, but in the 1930s, the drought returned. It stayed for 10 years, okay? And because all the practices we've talked about earlier, this ended up leading to even more and more soil erosion, and the crops failed, which led to famine and created so many other problems. Now, there's all these videos here you can watch about them.
A dust
and it goes through
to the southwest.
Some of them good, some of them not so good. Just go through that, okay? Cattle died because they had nothing to eat, and the dust inside their stomachs, and it created so many problems, and these problems are still being felt today. And you can read about this on, I know it's to the side, but if you just go rotate view clockwise, you'll be able to see. I've got here this case study sheet about the Dust Bowl there, okay? So use that website, make some notes about where it was, when it was, and the impacts of it, okay? So I'm going to take a little break there, okay? So you can make those notes, and then we're going to go on to about soil conservation. Okay, thank you.